What's up? This is Bacon is my podcast. I'm Jimmy.
I am Mike.
And we are proud to be part of the Deluxe Edition Network. That is right, the Den.
That's right, hashtag the Den. We are part of an awesome network with a number of fantastic podcasts, such as History I'd Like to Fuck, or HILF Podcast, Barrel Age Chicks, Barrel Age Flicks, Spoil My Movie, Deluxe Edition Podcast. Man, I could go on forever.
You could, but we won't, so you can go
Beard
watch.
Laws.
Go listen, go watch, check them all out now.
In a
Deluxe
pickle.
Edition Network.
Right now, deluxeeditionnetwork.com. Follow it on social medias, Deluxe Edition Network.
What's your bacon? I'm getting pretty excited because it's almost time to grill.
It's always time to grill. You know why?
I know.
Because I use grillyourassoff.com. All their stuff is fucking fantastic.
Well, I will say you don't even have to grill outside, even though you do all year round. I don't all year round, but I use all their stuff inside as well.
Yes, exactly.
So I still get the flavors.
Exactly. Everything from their seasoning to their sauces to their hot sauces. And you know what? They also provide delicious snacks.
They do. We actually tried some on the show. We got some cowboy-style beef jerky right here. Their jerky is really, really good.
It's really flavorful, really delicious. And you can have your own. If you go to grillyourassoff.com,
Indeed.
if you go to grillyourassoff.com, use the promo code BACON, and you get 10% off your entire order.
Nice.
And not only will you be helping us out, but you'll be helping out veterans and first responders.
Yeah.
Because this company is veteran-owned, and it's super badass, and we love these guys. Almost a day one sponsor with this show.
That's true.
And we are going to support them forever. Super
check out
cool
their
guys.
site. Check it out. Taste the freedom. If you don't know what you want to get, go ahead and use their product finder quiz.
Yes.
And set yourself up. Figure something out right now over at grillyourassoff.com.
And always remember to ask yourself,
what's your bacon?
what's your bacon?
Or what's on your bacon?
Bunker bacon bourbon barbecue sauce. That's what's up.
All right, so you want to bring us in here? You have some stories.
Yeah.
I have one story.
You have a story recent.
And I'm not going to say it, but I will just say that after your story, we'll get into the first time I met you. You were only in your underwear and soaking wet.
I love it. Must have been after a show or something.
No.
So go on with your story, and we'll just let everybody marinate on it.
What a cliffhanger. We should put the intro right now.
Bacon! Bacon is my podcast! Bacon! Bacon is my... Bacon! Bacon is my podcast! Bacon! Bacon is my...
So, guys.
I'm excited.
I am excited too because today we have Douglas from The Sleeping. Mm-hmm. Douglas Robinson from The Sleeping on the show. And let me, before we get into some of the questions and stuff, I want to talk about my introduction to The Sleeping. And it was way back in, I'm going to say probably 2003, 2004. And my band and a buddy's band, we actually booked this little dump called the Courthouse East in Massapequa, New York. And, it's your normal bar where it smells like nicotine and urinal cakes. And I remember we booked it, and all of a sudden the owner called up, who I don't remember who booked the show, and they were like, "Hey, we added another band. They're gonna play after everybody. They were not asking to bump anybody or anything like that." And I was like, "All right, well, that's really cool. We're gonna end at like 12:30." But I don't remember what the circumstances are. I think you guys were like coming from a show in Jersey or something like that. I don't know. And I remember I'm playing on stage, and you guys arrived a little later, and I'm playing, and you guys started walking with your merch. And then all of a sudden, like, this big bunny flag comes walking past the stage. And I'm like, what is happening right now? And that's literally how, and I was like, what happened? This is a thing. And then you guys fucking played, and I was like, oh, okay, fine. It's just great.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah. So yeah, the sleeping has been like a part of like my musical life for a very long time. Like I've seen you guys play at the Donkey. You've played with friends, you know, numerous times. VFW halls I've seen you at. And yeah, man, like it's really cool for me to have you on, especially you guys being so ingrained in this, like the Long Islandish music scene, and you know, well, the tri-state, you know, like New Jerseys and stuff like that. So yeah, man, it's really cool for me because I always appreciated your music, and
thanks, dude. That's sick.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you so much, man.
That's it.
Thanks for having me.
You have a little bit cooler of a story.
It's not
it's recent.
Story. It's a more recent story, but I will say that also back around the same time, I had recently moved to Long Island and I was building a band, and I had moved from the Midwest, and I did a lot of similar things that you've talked about in different interviews. That a lot of musicians and artists do. You know, like I also lived in a studio. I lived in my van. I did all that kind of stuff. I moved from the Midwest and came out here because it was that mindset of like, I'm gonna fucking make something of this, no matter what happens. You know, that thing. And I remember that I appreciated the work ethic of your band because you guys were doing things like coming back from a Jersey show and doing a show that night and calling places and showing up and doing last minute gigs. And so I patterned my band at that time off that same kind of work ethic. I was like, we called every venue and we were like, hey, if you need a band last minute, if a band cancels on you late, if you need somebody to just take a spot, give us a call. We can be there in an hour. We'll do it no matter what. The answer is yes before you call. And that's how we built our name, that band. That's how we built our name starting. And we were supposed to play a show with you at the Crazy Donkey. And my bass player at the time was booking the shows. And I remember he was very upset because his girlfriend really loved your band. And he was like, what, do you love them more than you love us? And I was like, don't ask her that.
That's such a crazy question.
That's not a fair question to ask anyone.
That's so funny.
So I appreciated the work ethic, and kind of followed suit. I was like, this is how you do this. Like, this is a band that's doing this. And I pointed to you guys quite a bit when I was talking to my guys and being like, yo, this is what we got to do. This is what we got to be. This is how it's got to work. So
thank you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks. No, I appreciate that. I mean, honestly, to be fair, we didn't even know what the fuck we were doing. We were just like, we never want to be home. Let's just go. Yeah. Right. At that age, who the fuck knows? You know, like I was from New Jersey. I was raised in New Jersey, and I found the sleeping through like what was it? The PRP or no, not the PRP. What was it called? Some website that was similar to like mp3.com at the time.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, From the Pit. It was From the Pit.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah, so I saw a post on From the Pit that Sky Came Falling members were looking for a singer for like a new project, and I was just like, I didn't even graduate school yet, or I think I was like about to graduate high school, and I told my mom, I'm like, yo, there's this band that I'm a fan of that's like looking for a singer. They're from Long Island, but like I think I got to do it. And my mom at that exact moment pretty much told me that she was like moving to Pennsylvania, like pretty far, like 4 hours from where I lived. And she was basically like, all right, well, this house is still here for like another like 2 months or something. Like the power is going to go out. There's going to be like no heat. She's like, but if you want to like stay here until they find someone else to live in it, she's like, just do it and try out for the band or whatever. So I moved my mattress into the living room, and I just lived by candlelight and ate like tuna fish at that time.
Wow.
Until I like fully joined the band and then like moved out there and stuff. But I mean, we, that work ethic was just us wanting to just, I think we all aligned without even really knowing each other at that time. It was just like, yo, we're doing this, like we're gonna make it happen no matter what. And like that's what my mindset was as a kid, like being in a band. I was in bands with friends, and we did really cool things together, but I just always remember being like listening to every record, be like, oh yeah, it's gonna be me, like whatever, I'm gonna do this. And success to me is measured based off of like, how you feel and what you value. And I feel like, I'm so successful in everything I've done just from the fact that I was able to like be like, fuck this, I'm doing it, let's go. And like we made somewhat of a name for ourselves. And it's cool to hear someone be stoked on the work ethic, because we worked our asses off, but I think without even like realizing it, that's just like what we wanted to do.
Yeah, it's that mindset, and even you're lucky to find even one person to work with
Right.
that has that kind of
Totally.
thing with you. So to find a group, just is amazing. Like that's just it's just one of those things where it's like, oh man, like something you're gonna do something, because there's no way you can't. Like
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like out of the vocabulary.
You
Yeah,
only fail when you
exactly.
stop. That's kind of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Totally.
I will say the time that we talked about before, that I actually met you in person, and I won't say we met. I say I encountered you in person. It was very, very recent. So my band rehearses at a rehearsal space in Long Island, New York,
Amityville.
in Amityville, Long Island Sound Studios, and they recently put in a whole area to do videos.
Oh, you were there for the Halcyon shoot.
And my band was rehearsing, because we rehearse every other night there. And my drummer had spoken to you because he was in a band back in the day that actually played some shows with you guys. And he was in a band called Nowhere Fast that played shows with you guys. And so he was telling me about that. And we were walking to leave the studio. And as I'm walking out, you were in the tiny, tiny ass bathroom of the studio. I believe washing the paint off of you. From the
Yeah.
So you were just there in just some shorts and just all wet. And I probably said something. I probably said something dumb like "looking good, bud." Like, because those are the
Oh, that was that creep.
those are the things that I do.
I'm all about it.
I don't have to know anybody. I'm just like looking nice, and just probably walked right past you. But I just thought that was
sick.
funny. And then when I saw that we were, I was like, oh, I got to tell him that, because that's just great. But
Yeah,
so
awesome.
I saw you very recently.
I feel like I remember that moment too, because I think I remember the door was open. I was like, hey, that's sick. That's so funny. Cool. Nice to see you again.
Yeah. Nice to see you again. The video looks awesome, by the way. Like,
thank you. Yeah, what a great bunch of people that worked on it. James and Anthony and Mike's spot is just really nice. It was really nice of them to like lend it to us. We're actually doing another video pretty soon. I think we're using the same spot too for a couple things, if I'm not mistaken. So
well,
I love that spot. Yeah, totally. I'm sure I'll see you. Yeah,
I'll be there.
Definitely.
So.
That's awesome.
That's the studio, ironically enough, that I used to live in.
Yeah.
We had a spot
Hey,
in there.
man.
And I was living on the couch.
Are you really in a band if you haven't lived in? Are you really in a band from Long Island if you haven't lived in a studio?
I say
in a rehearsal space.
I say probably not.
Because I did.
Yeah,
exactly.
Man. So what I want to ask is, you guys have this new record out. I feel like I'm becoming a ghost, which is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
By the way,
Thank you.
Really,
Thanks.
really awesome.
Great job.
Thank you.
I think what a lot of people are curious about is, so you guys got back together in like 2016, and you did. Again, I was there. My wife's a big Sleeping fan. So we went to your reunion show out at Paramount, and the place was fucking packed. And that's not a small room. It's not a fucking small room. And it was such a special show, especially like with you guys, bringing members from the past on to play and all that stuff. And then you guys did a bunch of like little shows locally too. Of course, AMH and whatever, Leaky Lifeboat. But like, what made then not the right time to do a new record versus now being the right time to do a new record?
I don't know. I mean, I don't really know exactly why the times back in the day weren't right. I mean, obviously schedule is like something, but we just didn't want to do it for a long time. And you know, we're all still super close. You know, we're all like the same as we were. You know, I mean, we've grown up obviously, but like we're the same in terms of like our love for each other. You know, we love each other so much. And you know, I think, you know, as you were saying before, like we worked so hard, and you know, losing Cameron at that point in our career, we were like, okay, we don't want to stop. We're gonna make more music to show people, you know, we can still go on. But I mean, you know, that momentum shifts, and by the time we're like winding down, you know, you're you're getting older, other things are happening in your life, you're killing yourself, but being more self-aware that you're like kind of not, you know, you're kind of feeling like, okay, I think we're burning ourselves out, you know what I mean? So I think there's just that anxiety of like, you know, in 2016, you know, I'm already married at that point. You know, for me personally, as speaking for myself, like life's just different, right? I'm always a
Oh yeah.
musician first and foremost, but you know, my want needs to like happen like magically, or else like I won't like, you know, engage with it, because I'm just a very you know, I need to believe in everything in that moment. And I just think a lot of the times we just weren't there in our headspace. And 2016, that reunion was just fun. You know, we've had offers before, we've said no, but 2016, you know, we love the Paramount. So many of our friends work there. You know, the team there is just really nice to us. So I think it just kind of all made sense, and we're all still friends. So I was like, "Yo, should we do it? Do we want to do it? It's the holidays, like." So we did it, and it was incredible. You know, we were able to like really have a fun time with it. Our friends from Folly played, and
Yeah.
you know, my music teacher was John Tamillo, the singer's dad. So you know, like you know, those dudes are my friends for like years anyway. So it was just really nice to like see my friends in all aspects, you know. And like I just think it just felt right in a fun way. And then after that, we kind of just went back to like the, you know, I guess we just went back to our routines and whatnot. And we didn't even really address anything else after that for a few years. And then, you know, the time came where we discussed doing another reunion at Irving. And, you know, by the time we started figuring that out, COVID had like a resurgence in, I guess like 20, I guess this had to have been 22.
Yeah.
So, you know, we were going to do a reunion at Irving, and I think all of Irving got sick. So, you know, it was just a point where we were sitting at AMH where we were rehearsing, and we were on the phone with Christian McKnight, who, you know, was our manager for a long time, still one of our great friends who like, you know, booked so many amazing places. And he was basically telling us, he's like, you know, we're all just having the conversation, like, it just doesn't make sense, right? And it's COVID, so we don't want people to get fucked up. You know, let's just cancel it. So we canceled it, and we were rehearsing in AMH, just us four, like no one would come by or anything, you know. So when we canceled it, we were just kind of like, well, we're here, you know, Joe's here. We should you know, we should just write a song, you know, we should just jam and see what happens. And once I heard that, I was like pretty excited, because we're a band that like we only jam, and that's how our songs come. Like no one has ever, to my recollection, like no one has ever come into the sleeping with like a riff. You know what I mean? It's always
cool.
like we're in the room and we just play for hours, and you know, it's just we always write. There's like 10 songs by the time we're done, because that's just we have like this crazy chemistry. Like, you know, even at the reunion show in 2016, you know, we all went to dinner with our, you know, our families, and my wife, like, that was her first time hanging out with all of us at once. You know, like I hang out with Sal like all the time. Cameron was away at that point. He was living in LA. Joe was living in LA. So this was like our whole time. Like this is our first time together for a very long time. And, you know, we left for dinner, and, you know, when we left, my wife was like, dude, you guys, she's like, I've never seen people communicate like you guys. She's like, you're fucking maniacs, but it's like you four are the only people in the world that would probably be able to like communicate with one another and like really make it special. So, you know, it's always had this crazy chemistry. So I think by the time we started we were in that room after, after the Irving show got canceled, and we wrote the first song on the record in like probably under an hour. We wrote that song. And I think that song had like one of the least like production, changes to it. So, I mean, it just felt in that moment, we're like, oh shit, this is dope. This is a new song. This is fucking sick. And then when we like left, I think a year went by or so. Yeah, like a year. And then Cameron and I just started having like more conversations on the phone about, what if we like get everyone to make a record? Like it would be sick. Like that first song really psyched all of us up. So, after that, we just all talked about it. And then we went into the studio and we were just like, we don't fucking care what comes of this. We just want to make the record. We just want to make a record and see what happens. And we made it. And, not obviously I think every artist says this because it's not cliche. It's because they're so proud of every evolution in themselves, whether people agree with that evolution or not. And I think it's the best record we've ever made because I feel like it's the most evolved we've ever been. And, everyone I know who's heard it, that knows me or that like, comes to shows, it's like, this is a great record, but the people I know come to me and they're like, people who don't even listen to my band and like, dude, this is like some like really sick shit. And I'm just like, fuck, man, that's so dope because we didn't even like know what was going to happen. We had no songs except for the one, and we wrote the rest in the studio and, just jamming in the live room and making stuff of it. So, that's how that record came to be. Just like we're friends in a room, let's do something we've never really done and just write all of it there and, just see what happens. And it, we weren't even sure we were going to release it. When we heard it all in the order we put it in, we were like, oh, this is actually like really good. And, halfway through when we started the Kickstarter, we had already made the record. We already funded it ourselves. We were just trying to get, recoup and let the fans know the truth. Like, the record is pretty much done, which it was. And, we're just looking to kind of release it in a way where it's for everybody and we're doing it all ourselves. We're not shopping it to labels, like, because whether we're here for a week or 10 more years, it's like we made something super dope. We just kind of want people to be a part of. So, halfway through that, it started taking a life of like, oh, we should like kind of continue off of this for a little bit. This is pretty cool. So, hence like some touring and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What's up, buddy?
Ew. I know it's cold.
Indeed.
So you want to get the sweaters going.
No. I reject that. And I'll tell you why.
Why would you do that?
Well, you don't put gloves on furry hands, do you?
Well, no.
No, you don't. So you know what? I like to keep my beanbag clean like my palms.
Yes.
That's right.
The Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is out now. It's got the skin safe technology you're used to. It's got the LED light like you're used to. But this one, it's got the foil blade.
Oh my god, the foil blade. It's nice for the crevasse.
Exactly. So it, hooks up your nether regions.
Goes right up the Mississippi on the one side and the Rio Grande on the other side.
Exactly. So go to manscaped.com, use the promo code BACONPOD for 20% off, plus free shipping.
Yeah, indeed.
And it's not even just for this, right?
No, it's for anything on there.
Exactly, especially our favorite, the crop mops, the ball and butt wipes. If you see us, we always give them out.
We'll hand them to you.
Exactly.
They'll be in the package, it's okay.
If you don't see us, manscaped.com, promo code BACONPOD, 20% off of those bad boys.
Free shipping.
And always remember to ask yourself,
what's your bacon?
Hey, this is Casey Shearer.
And this is Ray.
Do you like pop culture?
We're pretty sure you do.
Then come on over and check us out at deluxeedition.show.
You will not be sorry. Or maybe you will be. I don't know.
Nice. I feel like you guys are, for a band that took so much time off and came up in a time where now people are kind of looking at that era through very nostalgic eyes, for whatever reason, like, and maybe it's just me, but like, I feel like you guys don't fall into the nostalgia spot. You know?
Yeah, thank you. You know, that's actually probably one of the main like guidelines all of us had with making the record was like, I don't, you know, this is something I felt very strongly about. It's like, I don't want to be a nostalgia band. Like, I have nothing against bands that do that. I mean, you have great records. People
sure.
grew up to those records. They want to hear them, right? Like, I'm not saying we might never do that down the line, whatever. But like, I don't want the first thing in my, you know, in my return, you know, with this band that meant so much to me. Like, I don't want the first thing to just be like a recycling of something we've made before, just because people, that's like what they identify with. Like, I've changed, they've changed, our views have changed, our lives changed, the way we view the world, you know, like all that stuff is so different. My influencers are all over the place. And like, you know, I was so young in the band back then. And, you know, I feel like now, you know, my musical plane has like, you know, it's expanded so much. And being a member now, that's not only, I'm still the youngest, but I'm older, right? I'm 40 years old. So I now have like a identity I didn't have when I was younger in the band. So now like I really enjoy trying to lead as much as I can. And, you know, we're all a super democratic band. Everybody writes together, but I'm not as afraid to like point out choices and production things because, you know, I listen to music and love music so much that like I kind of fell into my own of what I want out of things that I am creating and whatnot. So, you know, a big part of, as I mentioned, like a big part of that was just not wanting to sound like a nostalgic band. And I have, you know, those three dudes are some of the best dudes ever, some of the greatest players, and they also have like a great musical sense. So, you know, it was really cool to make something that everyone kind of felt the same way. Like, no one wants to have our first record basically be like a continuation off of something we've made. You know, we wanted it to be like very different, not for the sake of being different, but for the sake of it being like our most authentic selves, which is completely different than how we were as kids, you know, or younger.
It feels like that. It feels like, and that's kind of why I brought that up. Cause like I hear that a lot in bands, and then just as a writer, I know that sometimes it's easy to kind of fall into that. Like you're writing something, you're like, hold on, like this is eerily reminiscent to something, or even like this is pretty far from something. Is that cool? Am I still working that way? So it was just something that I noticed when listening to it. Is it was like it sounded like the band evolved. It didn't sound like, oh, these guys got back together and just kind of like, it's noticeable. It's definitely,
these guys got together to get on When We Were Young kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't.
Which there's nothing at all wrong with that. You know, like there are some, I mean, like, you know, to be quite honest, I'm like, damn, I like that shit is sick. They're playing that, like whatever it is, you know, it's so cool. But, you know, I understand that it's, you know, the bands that become businesses, it's a business, right? So you do make business decisions, but, you know, and I think I respect any of my, like a ton of my friends are on those bills and I love them and I love the records they're playing. I would go watch it myself. You know, for me, it's just like, you know, it's just one of those things where it's like, you know, and we didn't sit in the room in every riff we made or in the jam or any part. Like we didn't think, oh, does this sound like old? Like if it did happen naturally, cool. You know what I mean? But in the beginning, that was just like just our initial discussion. But, you know, I think we're always going to be the Sleeping, but I think what makes the Sleeping so, you know, so great, so fun to be in, for me personally speaking, is like I'm in a band with people who just have such a crazy, unique style, each of them, and also they don't want to just be the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, and you know that. To be transparent, like we made that record ourselves. We're doing it all ourselves. We weren't like a massive band to get like, you know, we did very well for ourselves, but it's a different time now, right? So we're basically reintroducing people to our band, but it's so cool because I have friends who never have listened to my band once that are like, yo, that record is sick. I'm like, that's all I wanted. I wanted people to hear it and go, I did not expect this, you know? And getting that a lot is like really cool because again, it was intentional in the way that it was just like, let's always be forward thinking for us. And then whatever, you know, what we're getting out of it is what I would want from any band. Like, fuck yeah, you're evolving. Like, this is rad. You know what I mean? So, I'm really proud of that record for that reason. Even if people don't like that record or, you know, whatever, I'm just saying like, no matter what the case is, it's like, I love that record because it's one I've listened to after, you know, when it's out and I give it that spin, that like kind of like last spin of fuck, we did it. I listen to it and I'm like, oh yeah, like I can listen to this down the line and not pick one thing that I wish I did differently. I felt really good about that record.
Awesome.
That's cool.
That's a great place to be. Yeah.
Man, I've done like 4 song EPs and going, fuck.
Oh yeah, I mean, dude, maybe in a year I'll probably find, you know, as long as you're going for it, you're always you're always evolving. You're always trying to do something different. I mean, you know, I have this new band next week, and we're recording next week, and I'm like playing so much guitar, and I'm like, fuck, man. I'm like, I love playing guitar so much, and I feel like I'm at a place where I'm happy with, for me, you know, in the style I like to play. But in like a year, I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna be better in a year if I keep playing this way. Like,
right.
Let's do another thing in a year already. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
you know, you got to enjoy the process too, and also have fun. And I think a lot of the times, you know, I love making records because I have so much fun making records. Pressure, no pressure. Like I love making records so much, and I think when they're out is more when I'm just like, but you know, being able to hear what I made in a moment where I was like all for it. I'm proud of that one for sure. So
that's so awesome.
I like how recording. I'm not as big of a fan of the recording process.
You like the writing process?
I love the writing process. That's my favorite, and I love the adding 2 songs process. You know, when it's like the fun days, like, oh, come in and do harmonies. I'm like, yes, I got a bunch. Come in and do extra guitars. Awesome, let's do it. But I will say the one thing I do love about it is, like you're saying, I love that it's like that. It's being in the moment is really hard to do anyway. And when you're recording, you're capturing a moment.
Especially, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
You know, so you're able to kind of go back to it. And sometimes if you can't be in the moment when you're doing it, at least with a record, you can listen to it and you can kind of revisit the moment that way, you know? Because it's tough. It's tough to, like, I'm actively trying to get better at it all the time of like, okay, this is the moment I'm in. Enjoy the parts of it. Let's slow
totally,
down
dude.
and stop thinking ahead and kind of be here. You know,
it's so hard to do that as an adult. It's so hard to live in the moment.
Well,
I'm very envious of people who are very good at living in the moment because I work on it every day. You know, I'm constantly overthinking about my whole life. And, you know, for me, recording a record is a time where I'm only in the moment the whole time until I leave. And that is so awesome. Therapeutic for me. I didn't mean to cut you off, by the way. I hope I didn't.
No, not at all.
No. Actually, you know, like it brings me to like kind of what I wanted to talk to you about a little bit, especially with what we talked about on What's Your Bacon 7 Questions.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were asking you what's your bacon, and you kept on bringing up things that not only that you love doing, but you've like created businesses out of and stuff. And like to me, when you said that, it kind of a little bit was kind of like, is that like a musician thing? Like, is that something that we do as musicians? Because like, I know that the things that like I would answer that with are all things that I try really, really, really hard at. Like I can't do video games. I can't do just, you know, like certain, like you brought up reading. I do reading a little bit, but it's always more for like okay, well, how do I make this better?
Oh, you have
right?
Yeah. You got everything you do has a purpose at the end of it,
right? And I feel like you know, Douglas, you were talking about, you know, you've got a record store, you do Brazilian jiu-jitsu, you know, all that stuff.
Photography.
Yeah. So all those things, like, do you ever really turn off? Because I personally don't feel like I do. I love doing this, but we're trying to further this.
Right.
I love
Totally.
doing music, but I love doing it to a certain extent. And if I'm not able to go and like be in a room with people that have the same mindset of pushing it forward, I don't like doing it. You know, like is that something you think is like a musician thing, or like?
I think honestly, I think why we sometimes have those moments of being able to be more like entrepreneurial and kind of like one never shut off, which I can answer that part as well. But I think a lot of that is because like when you're in a band, especially, you know, when you're in a band, say you're in a band for 7 years, 4 to 5 years, you're eating shit with like gradual increase, you know? And then those last couple of years is when you're doing really well. Or, you know, 10 years, you know, 6 years into it, you're crushing. Then like on the 9th year is when it starts like winding down. But the thing is point is like, we have so many ups and down moments where we're understanding business on and music on, you know, business wise, like you're like, when it's hot, you're in like the throes of the business. When it's, you know, when it's cold, you're like changing steering wheel belts, you know, on your shuttle bus by yourself with your band, with like one's holding a crowbar, one's putting the other one on, one's turning it on, lightly accelerating, like, you know, like being in a band, especially like starting very DIY, like you problem solve everything. So I think what happens is when you become more resourceful with your money, and you become more resourceful, you know, with, you know, you become more knowledgeable, and you have many more tools to learn new skills and trades and stuff like that. Like, I think our mentality of basically starting from nothing is a very big strength that, you know, a lot of people don't have. And obviously it's different post social media. I think now there's like 13-year-olds that are like billionaires. So, I mean, it's very different, but
we've talked about that before.
But, you know, I think for us, you know, predating technology on that level of like the internet, or at least like, you know, anything beyond like MapQuest, I think it's I was very happy the way that I grew up in a band, because I was just able to learn, fuck up, learn, fix things, you know, like very DIY mentality.
Yeah.
And, you know, now that I'm older and, you know, life is not that, I live very comfortably, thankfully, with a great family. You know, I still have that spirit in me that's like, oh, okay, I'll problem solve this situation, you know, whether it's work or jujitsu or, you know, whatever the case. And, you know, I do a lot of things that are relaxing to me, you know, but I don't think I ever shut off. You know, I don't think I do. I try, you know, and I'll stay up and listen to records until like 3 a.m. and like I feel like a fucking maniac because I didn't sleep, but I shut off for those hours listening to like 15 records in a row.
Well, you get lost, you know, getting lost is important.
Yeah.
I think it's like it's interesting too. Like even for me, like you know, if something has to be done around the house, it's like I got it, right. And it's like, well, hire a contractor or something. It's like no, I'll figure it out. And back to what you were saying about like the changing belts on the highway with your bandmates trying to figure shit out. That makes it resonates with me. It's like, oh, okay, maybe that's why I'm this way.
Well, you know, I think we're also in a world where now it's just hustle everything, right? It doesn't seem like what is forward facing, what we absorb. It doesn't seem like any of that ever really, you know, involves chilling out or taking a rest or giving yourself some time. I mean, the most affirmation I see there's like on Instagram, these like dumb, little like, these little like affirmation story, like reels, I mean, I read and I tend to read a ton of self-help books, and I'm trying, every day I'm always trying.
Yeah, man.
So I get my affirmation from somewhere that multiple pages, multiple books, like I'm able to like really sit there and absorb. But most people are getting, and obviously I say this in my scope, I'm sure there's other people, millions of other people, millions and millions that are feeling the same way we are, exactly what. But, I do think social media is so heavy in everyone's minds now that, our like shutting off is looking at a phone. I mean, that's not even shutting off,
Right.
and that's where, so I don't know. But I hate sounding like jaded because I have a phone and I fucking go on fucking Instagram. I don't really like post, but I'll like look at funny videos and I'm like, oh, that's funny. But then I'm like,
Yeah.
shit, I just wasted an hour doing nothing. Let me go read for like 2 hours.
Yeah. Hey, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me.
I don't think you have a problem. You know what the problem is? Nobody knows where to find us online. That's the problem.
Well,
They're
I think there's.
Sometimes I go to YouTube. Sometimes I want to go to Spotify. Sometimes, how do I know where I can find everything bacon?
You know what there is? There's one place that has everything, all encompassing. It's baconismypodcast.com.
A solution.
Exactly. You ever want to listen to our music?
Yeah.
Or know where to find us on YouTube?
Yeah.
Or on Apple Music?
Yeah.
Spotify?
Yes.
Maybe grab some shirts?
Check
Find
out
some-
sponsor.
Find some sweet deals on some sodas from drinkwildbills.com, or maybe some beard product from Mythical Beards.
Maybe you want to pick up a Podex.
Use the promo code BACON on all of those websites and get 10% off. But if you can't remember that, just go to baconismypodcast.com, hit sponsors. You're right there.
Yeah.
Tells you everything.
Find everything about us. Leave us a comment, ask us a question, and always remember to ask yourselves every single day,
What's your bacon?
what's your bacon? I recently read something that was talking about how before we had phones that were like smartphones, right? Even when we just had our little flip phones and stuff like that, you would have several times throughout the day where you would just kind of be in your own thoughts. If you were waiting for a bus, or if you were waiting to go on the subway, or if you were commuting somewhere, or if you were in a waiting room, or if you were talking to someone at lunch, or any of those things, or just by yourself at lunch from work, like those were times where you kind of like, you sat either in silence, or you reflected, or you were talking to other humans, and now we don't really, all those times throughout the day are kind of taken away from us.
Yeah.
Because now it's immediately
Totally.
entertain myself, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all that happens, and I don't know if this happens to you guys, but like sometimes when it's like I have the hardest time winding down at night and trying to like go to bed, because that's when everything I would have done throughout the day actually starts to happen. When I am shut off from everything else, and then my brain just starts like, oh, what about this? And maybe this thought, or maybe this, and these are all probably things that I would have throughout the day solved
Yeah.
or gone through. But I had to figure out what the word was, the word
Wordle.
game, or I had like any of those things. And I was reading something about that the other day, and I just thought that was really interesting, because it was like we didn't even see that coming,
Right.
and we kind of like just stopped doing those things for ourselves without realizing that we were doing it. It was just like, oh, here's 5 minutes, let me entertain myself.
Mhm.
Well, it's crazy because, I remember I'm like so happy the way I grew up, because I didn't have a phone in my hand. I would go to the lake with my friends, and, we would like, go to the mall in like a senior's car, and like, I was like, I remember being like so young and learning through music through all these other people older than me, going to the mall and being idiots at the mall, but I miss that. I really miss having the space to not be around all the time. Like like one of your family members texts you and you're not texting them back in like an hour. It's like question mark or whatever.
Right,
and it's
right.
like, I try to stay off my phone a lot more lately just because, I don't know. I just want to like, that is a way I feel I would truly disconnect if I'm just not, and I'm not always on my phone by any means, but there's obligation to text your friends back. And I love all my friends, but I used to love that it wasn't a big deal if you called and you were like at a friend's house for the week and like your friend would be like, all right, well, just tell him to call me back, whenever he gets in. And it'd be like a week and a half later. And you're like, oh shit, I was like down the shore or whatever.
Right,
And,
right.
now I'm back. It's like, oh, cool. What are you up to?
Yeah.
It feels like so much is like, people get like, I feel like there's like underlying, like, I feel like people get bummed if you don't call them back or, and I'm not saying me by any means, my friends, maybe they don't even give a shit, but there is that sense of, oh fuck, why didn't you text me back like yesterday or whatever? It's like,
it's an instant.
you shouldn't have to be.
It could be self-inflicted
Yeah,
too. Like,
and an
it could be
instant
like-
gratification kind of thing too.
Yeah.
I think we're all kind of getting that from social media in some way.
Totally.
And it, like the other thing too is like for me, and then you have your setbacks, right? So when a friend texts you and you don't answer back, and then all of a sudden, like a week and a half later, you're like, oh shit, I'm sorry. And it's like, oh, I thought you were mad at me and stuff. And then all of a sudden in the back of your head, you're like, oh fuck, I'm hypersensitive to this. Like, dude, just recently, like I was like, I'm going to play Monopoly with my family.
Right.
Like my 2 kids and
So
my wife.
next 7 hours are set.
So, dude, it was like 2.5, 3 hours. We didn't get to finish the game because I looked at my phone and then I had texts from family members about shit.
Right.
And I'm just like, and that happened, it happened a few weeks ago, but it was like, for me in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, you gotta have your phone around.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think, I think we also, we create our own realities. We create the world around us in our own minds. So it's like, it's like, I used to feel that way too, everyone at some point has. And I think when you become a little more detached from it, I think it helps you to kind of be like, oh yeah, I forgot. Like, I don't have to always be on this, or I don't have to like check it every 5 minutes. Like, I mean, there's times for like a week or a few days I turn on like my do not disturb, and I just like, I check it every like few hours, just to make sure. But honestly, I don't know. It's like, I miss feeling just a little more, I guess, like present,
Mm-hmm.
And I think with so much going on, even doing things I love, like, I feel like I lose a lot of that in the moment aspect when, it's because I'm overthinking all the time about everything.
Yeah.
Making a record, it's like productive thinking. So it's very in the moment, but everything else, I'm always like overanalyzing myself and, whatever, where I think when I like detach from like technology, because like I'm talking about, like, it doesn't have to be like a social media thing in terms of like your Instagrams and I don't have like a Twitter. Like I'll look on Reddit for records every day.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm like, I gotta get the fuck off this thing. Like, like, do I really need to look at records that bad? Like, so, I think disconnecting is really making me like focus more. And I love hanging out with my family, and my dog is like, we go on really awesome walks together, and that stuff is very, that brings you into the present as much as it can. And for everyone's different, but it brings me into the present a lot to be able to like walk with him. And I find when I have my phone and I'm walking him, I'm on it with someone, talking to like my brother-in-law who I'm really close with, or whatever the case. But when I don't have it, it's like I just want to like be there with him, so I tend to leave it behind. So
I've started doing that too, actually.
Yeah.
I noticed the same thing is I'd throw some headphones on and I'd go for a walk and I'd either listen to music or I'd be talking to somebody, or I'd be like listening to whatever we did in the studio the night before and but
like even music all the time.
Like, I'm not even hanging out with my dog now.
Right.
Exactly.
Like,
Totally.
this is the best part of his life is being outside right now. And I'm just kind of like, all right, you're on the leash. Cool. I'm detached from you.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to do that. Like, that sucks. I don't want to.
Yeah.
Totally, and
Yeah.
it's good that you realize that, because I think that's like a really good way to practice being more present,
Yeah.
because like it really is very easy to be with your dog and really focus on your dog. You know, like I have a cat, and you know I love her to death, and I focus on her too. But she's an indoor cat, so it's like I'm still in my kind of element where I feel like when I walk my dog outside, he's in his element, and
Mm-hmm.
I can either just let him walk and treat it like a walk, or I can like watch him and be like, fuck, dude, he's like having such a good time.
Yeah.
And
Right.
then that makes me like kind of like wonder what he's doing. And like, you know, I'll watch like his patterns, like what he likes to do, like which way he like goes when I could see when he's like really sniffing something, like he's going to follow it,
Mm-hmm.
or he's like just smelling something in the area, because I can just see the way he's about to move. And I'm like, oh, here we go. I'm going for like, you know, 3 blocks. Like this dude's going to follow, turn around. So, but it's cool. I would never think about that stuff. And having him really makes me just kind of like really focus on the fact that like, it's not, you know, you're in this vessel, but at the same time, it's like, it's not just you. You got to like, you know, really pay attention to the others around you, especially like the people you love.
Oh yeah, dude.
You know, I love my wife so much, and I try to really be like as present as I can. You know, we're both so busy, so I think it's all about just really
It's
trying to
important.
balance it. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Not always being in charge too.
Yeah.
Is pretty important.
Um,
You know, that's tough to do.
so,
Yeah.
so you're a record store owner,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what I want to know from you is
I'm actually not the owner. It is myself and my partner. But just want to let you know, just
co-owner,
Part.
So-
Part.
co-owner.
there you
Um,
You're a vinyl aficionado.
yeah.
go.
What I
love
want to
vinyl.
know, only because we've done some. I said some
Are you
shit.
gonna tell him your hot take on vinyl?
No. Well, no. Well,
Hey, I
it's
don't
not a hot
judge
take.
anyone.
Okay.
Well, tell me. I don't
Okay.
judge anyone anyway.
Okay.
Who cares?
So
I mean, whatever.
I think vinyl personally,
Yeah.
from a collector's aspect,
Mhm.
like I've collected dumb shit in the past. I'm a comic book fan, so I've had comic book trading cards,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought those were great and valuable and all that kind of stuff, and I still have a lot of them, stuff
Every
like that.
collection has their poor choices.
But what I would like to know is, do you truly think that vinyls sound better than anything else?
Yes. There's obviously like reasons, you know, like anything that's kind of like 90s and, you know, and before, it's a different recording. It's before like digital went like, you know, I mean, obviously you're listening to like records from the 50s, 60s, you know, it's a whole different way. I mean, obviously records get digitized throughout the years, reissues, remasters and things like that. But, you know, a lot of those earlier records, there really is a difference. I mean, it sounds like you're in the room with them, right? And also, even the ones that, I mean, there's a lot of records you get and you can just tell it's like an MP3, just like, you know, flat, ready to go. But there's just more dynamic in a record, especially when it's mixed and mastered to a record. There's a lot more like texture. When you're listening digitally, you're listening to a compressed file. So even though you'll hear the sounds of everything going on, it's still one wave, you know, essentially. Like you're still like on this digitized wave. And obviously everything's digital now. So I would be naive as to say that records, you know, don't, you know, they're, like they sound so different. Like nowadays records are being pressed digitally. That's just what it is. But there are people who still care about vinyl, and in the sense of, you know, mixing and mastering to the record, to a vinyl itself, but also you're still getting a less compressed version when it's on a record. You know, CDs also sound good too. It's more digitized, of course, but you know, when you listen on a radio or your Spotify, like all that shit is so compressed.
Well,
There
yeah,
actually
yeah.
is a difference,
Spotify,
you know?
Spotify is like when you listen to one versus another, or dude, even when you get your mixed version versus your mastered version, you're like, why does the mixed version sound way better? Well,
Right.
because we didn't compress the
didn't
fuck out
squash
of
it.
everything.
Yeah.
We know, but like,
We
Yeah,
didn't
there's
put it
just-
on. We didn't put it on lithium.
yeah, right, exactly. So like, so yeah, like, so for me, and I know you're a fan of the band as well. So like, like Deftones records, right?
Yeah.
You want to talk like, I feel like White Pony was kind of that, almost that cusp of like, all right guys, we're not gonna do any cassettes anymore. We're going all CD. So like either White Pony self-title kind of thing.
Yeah.
And up to like Kono Yo Can, right? Where vinyls started to kind of be back into things. Like, do you legit hear a difference
Oh yeah.
between the vinyl of those records?
Like modern records is what you're saying.
Yeah, like the more like, let's say Diamond Eyes, right?
Yeah, I hear a difference. I already know what you're saying.
Did Deftones go out and like release everything the way that the world is its standard, right?
Right.
And then all of a sudden now go, oh well, vinyl's a thing. Let's go and remix that.
No,
Do
I
you find a lot of bands are like doing that, like going, oh well, let's focus on this, or just taking the shit that they've done for CD
Well, probably some.
and less streaming, like more or less streaming, and
Yeah.
like remixing it for vinyl to make it sound better vinyl.
I think so. And I apologize. I wasn't trying to cut you off for it.
No.
I have the first press of White Pony. It was like it's like a promo. It's a promo copy. There was only like, I don't know, like 1,000 made or something like that. And like, I've listened to that record for many years, and I heard it that time, the first time I opened up that record, and it's just so much more textural. I mean, it's like, you know, and it's not to sound pretentious in any way. Like, obviously a digitized record, I still blast. I still listen to my iPod, like when I, you know, walk around and things like that. So, but like, you know, I have a setup that is for listening to records, right? Like I have a preamp and amplifier that are specific. I only listen in headphones. So everything's like phono, because like me listening to a record, like I'm in my record room right now. I can like be in here for a week straight and listen to records all night, and I won't be back in like a month, and until something makes me go, fuck, I got to listen to that. And then I go, it's like very spiritual for me. So, you know, maybe that in a sense adds to what I'm hearing, because I'm just feeling in this crazy way. But, you know, there is factually like a difference, right? But, you know, do records still sound awesome when they're, you know, digitally stamped? Yeah, and digitally pressed, like, yeah, they do 100%. You're still getting like a high quality, right? And not like this like ultra digitized compressed file, even if it's digitized. I mean, like I said, there are some you can blatantly tell are like pretty badly pressed, you know,
Right.
but those are kind of hard to listen to, because sometimes it just sounds like, if you can imagine just like an MP3 going on like a record and just spinning, like it sounds flat. It
Well,
just sounds like
that's
like
that's
copy
what I'm
and
wondering
paste.
is like,
But
like
still dope to have.
full transparency. I shit all over the like listening to records. I did in the past.
I'm
I have.
making a vinyl, so all the information on mixing and everything for vinyl is super helpful to me, because I'm figuring it all out right now.
Well, you were just like, all right,
I've never done a vinyl.
well, I mean, so what you're doing is you're taking songs that were specifically geared toward digital and going, let's just throw them on a vinyl.
No, I'm not. I'm remixing them entirely.
Well, okay. So that makes a huge difference.
And the ones we're recording right now, we're recording knowing that it's going towards vinyl.
Yeah.
And
Right.
Well, there's
have
different,
to be
you know,
redone.
mixing to vinyl is like a whole different world, you know. It's very crazy. You know, at least from I've never mixed, but the multiple records I've made with producers, I really look up to, their knowledge about it is like, oh, it's like a different beast. You got to really think differently. And also, I have the first press of some Mars Volta records, and those things sound, to me, in my opinion, like garbage. Like, I love them and I will own them forever. But the first presses, that you can hear how digitized they are, like, or at least in that way where it just feels careless. The box set, that one right there.
Yeah.
That one has all of the records remastered and like remixed to vinyl, or remastered to vinyl. And I can hear such a difference than the first pressings, like such a difference. Like I can hear sounds come in that I didn't hear. At least they didn't pop out as texturally as they do on the remasters than they did on the first presses. They just sound very, you can tell, like, because at that time, CD, you got to remember, like, in the 2000s, CDs, records died. You know what I mean? Vinyl died. So if anyone really put a record out on vinyl, it went two ways. They either really gave a shit and like really catered to it, or they were just putting it out because they're just like, let's have a vinyl, let's have vinyl. Like, there wasn't really like hope for it at that point. So and who knows what went into, I can't say what went into the first Volta records on, the first pressings on vinyl, but it just sounded like it was like, yeah, let's put it on a record. I mean, there was obviously care into it. They did like silver, I think even gold, like picture disc, for like D-Lows. So it's cool, but the quality is just not there. It just wasn't made for it. And then the box set,
they were made more as collectors items than they were for listeners.
I think so. I think so. I think that's what started happening with a lot of those bands, making records at that time. Like,
yeah, they're like, someone's gonna put us in a frame,
right?
Yeah, or even just have it on a shelf. I mean,
right.
But now it's like everyone's doing cool shit with records. I mean, like I said, even one that doesn't sound as good to me, I still will buy it. Or I heard it and I will never get rid of it. Like there's so many records I love that are pretty bad pressings that I'm just like, and not bad in the way where they're first pressings and you can hear, like, I'm all about, I understand why first pressings, I collect first pressings, even if it's like a newer record, just because that's like excites me, but I'll get a remastered edition if it's like remastered by the band, like I'll own the same thing. Mm-hmm. But, earlier records, you can just hear the separation of the instruments. It really does feel like, again, like textural and not flat. So I do notice that difference for a lot of records that I like,
All right. Well, I'm going to tell you what, Douglas, we want to come to the record store, and I would love to listen to Deftones records that I've loved for years that sound better on vinyl.
The only thing I suggest is, when you really want to do that, I would suggest headphones first, at least. Because you're kind of more passive listening.
Headphones versus like a car stereo versus
You gotta like really go for it. That's why, I listen to my streaming platforms when I'm like listening to music in the living room, because I have a record room for myself. But in the living room, I listen, to the Bluetooth speakers, because I'm passively listening. I'm still love music. I'm not like, oh, vinyl only. Like sometimes it's hard for me to listen to in the car because I just hear the compression just kind of gets to me sometimes. But I'm always playing it passively. But when it's really time to listen and really go, like I call the Mars Volta box set the office of records, because every time I play it, I feel like I find something new every time. Mm-hmm. And that's like the way you want to listen to music. And I think when you're passively listening, when you're trying to like find a band or something like that, it's just, you get a band you see for fans of, and you like play one song, like, it's just like, it's okay, whatever. We're all guilty of it. I've done it. But I really like to try to find a record at a shop that I've never heard and like buy it and just see like what happens. I'm still in that mindset, because, you can hear something so fucking rad, and like the pressing itself could be awesome, like you just kind of never know. So
The fact that you're an expert versus like some of the people that are just like, no, vinyl just sounds better. I bought it from Hot Topic. Makes me go, all right. I'll listen to you.
I will say the earlier Hot Topic pressings sound awesome. When you just mentioned Hot Topic, it just made me laugh because I'm like, actually, the Hot Topic pressings. I don't know where they pressed them, but they were always like pretty good actually.
Interesting. Well, fuck do I know?
Deftones has. Speaking of Deftones, they have around Adrenaline, Around the Fur, Saturday Night Wrist, Self-Titled, and I think maybe even Koi no Yokan. They all have Hot Topic pressings, but the first 4 Deftones records, the Hot Topic pressings are like pretty rare and like sought after. And they're fucking awesome. Of course I had to own them, but they're fucking sick. So
okay,
I just thought I'd share that.
I gotta listen to that.
All right, so we've taken up a bunch of time. I want to ask one more thing before we let you go, and it has to do with this too, right? Yeah. As collectors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Comic collectors, vinyl collectors, anything. We all kind of have like that. There's like the thing you come across that you get that's like your prized possession, right? And then there's that thing that's like your holy grail. So, so what would they be for you? What's your prized possession, and what's your holy grail that you haven't gotten yet?
It's the same record.
Yeah. Okay.
Hold on. Give me a second.
I love that it's the same record.
You'll have to edit this. I gotta look for my fucking teas. Hold on.
We'll just play some Jeopardy music.
While you look for it, I'm gonna go pee.
All right.
There we go.
Wait, I found it.
Oh, you found it.
Damn.
I found it.
Do I have to hold it?
You gotta hold it.
Take a minute. Take a minute.
Here it comes. Hold it.
Oh, god damn it. Oh.
Okay. Nice.
First press.
Anima.
These things are so expensive and so hard to get a hold of, because the reason why it's such an expensive record is because nobody ever wants to sell it. Right. No one will, like anyone who owns a record, a copy of Tool Anima on first press, will literally never sell it. So that's why the prices are so insane. But the perks of working at a record shop, I was able to snag one.
Nice.
Nice.
This is, if you really want to talk about like records sounding different and good on vinyl, this record in headphones will change your life. Like it will change your life. So, yeah.
Okay.
That's,
do you get?
I've listened to that record in cassette, CD, streaming.
Oh, listen to it on headphones on vinyl, and you will
talk about textures.
I see that record. I see that record still looks shiny and wrapped. Do you?
Oh yeah, that's a near mint.
One to rock, one to stock. Is that your?
Not yet, but I will.
Nice.
I will. But yeah, that's definitely the prized possession. I have many. You know, that Deftones promo of White Pony is really sick.
Yes.
Let's see what else. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention White Pony when I was talking about all those pressings, by the way. So 5, right? So Self-Titled, Around the Fur, White Pony, Saturday Night Wrist, Self-Titled. Yeah, my bad. So yeah, those. Yeah, you can edit that or whatever the case. But those 5 records have really dope Hot Topic pressings. Those are kind of prized possessions too, because I know you got to pee. Hold on, let me just show you.
No, keep it going. I like this.
I hate this.
I think this is only like 1,000 or 2,000 made.
The red White Pony.
Yeah, it's bright red.
Yeah.
I have the I meant to show you the Hot Topic ones. Hold on. So the Hot Topic Deftones record that I love is Around the Fur. First time on vinyl too. Like it says it's a reissue, but it's the first time it's ever been pressed.
I
The
remember
hype
seeing
sticker
that
says
on
it.
Topic.
Oh,
I
hell yeah.
remember,
First
I remember
of-
seeing
sir-
that all the time.
This was nowhere near $20.99 when I paid for it. I just think it's really
Dude.
funny that
Right.
20.99 for a vinyl record now
I know.
is
Yeah.
unheard of.
But I really love this color.
Nice.
It's like
Well,
it goes so well with the record.
Oh, that's awesome. What's up, fam?
yeah.
Bacon listeners? Ever wanted to help out the show? Ever wanted to know a little bit more about what goes on behind the scenes here at Bacon?
Perhaps keep these glasses a little bit fuller.
Mine's empty.
Yeah. Go over to patreon.com/baconismypodcast where you can get additional content, including tastings.
Yeah, you can get cooking shows.
You can get early ad-free shows.
That's right.
And at even the lowest tier, come participate with us every week in our discussion and drinks episode where we hang out with you, our BIMP squad.
You're a part of the show. Join us, hang out, weigh in on everything that we're talking about, weigh in on everything, maybe be a part of the show.
Exactly.
It's happened.
Join the BIMP squad.
Yeah.
Get your first week for free over
right
at
now.
patreon.com/baconismypodcast.
What's all bacon?
Yeah, man, records are the shit. I mean, also, you know, even aside from the sound, like, why would you not want to like read what a band wrote and like see the artwork in like the biggest way you can
Yeah, that's been the
while you're listening?
The reason that we even are doing one is just because, like, to me, it's like it's kind of the one thing I haven't done, you know, like,
Yeah,
and I really want to, like, we got into the whole habit of like, oh, we'll release singles digitally over the last couple of years so that we
Right.
can keep things coming out on a consistent basis. But then it was like, man, I want to, like, I miss making a thing. I miss designing the artwork. I miss writing out the lyric sheets and designing how they're going to look and creating a,
yeah,
so it's like, I want to do a record that like opens up and you can like read the, you know, I want to do the whole thing. I don't know if how cost effective that's going to be.
it's expensive.
Yeah.
Honestly, you'll probably wind up doing.
Finding out that.
You'll probably wind up wanting to stick with, you know,
Sorry. So
probably very bare minimum. I mean, you know, it gets
Yeah.
expensive because there's still not a lot of pressing plants because again, vinyl, you know, I consider, you know, for so many years, everyone's like, oh, vinyl's coming back. I consider it back. Like seeing the way the shop is growing every day. It's like
Sure.
vinyl has become, you know, the FYE level at this point again.
Yeah.
You know,
No, I
like
can
Taylor
see that,
Swift, you know, Metallica buying their own pressing plant was such a pivotal thing in you know, in terms of vinyl.
Right.
And Taylor Swift kind of, you know, building an economy and selling records and people like tripping the fuck out on records. Like, I'm not a Taylor Swift fan by any means. Like, I mean, in the sense that it's just not my style.
Right.
But I'm like super respectful of everything she's
Oh,
doing,
her
and
as
like,
Oh, hell yeah.
As an
She-
artist and a
she's-
business person.
yeah,
Hell
and on top of that, she's getting like 12-year-old kids into vinyl. You know, that's
Yeah.
really cool because, you know, our parents were the people that were that age getting into vinyl because it was never like heard before, and you know, or never like really in those formats. You know, and now kids in a digital world are getting into it, and you know, it's just really cool to see a kid come into our shop and be like so fucking hyped to buy a record. Like it's like it's really one of the sickest feelings ever. I mean, it's like hard to even call it work because I have so much fun when I'm there, and you know, there is no better feeling than seeing people of all ages get like super psyched on what they're buying. And you know, I'm grateful to be so into music that I try to listen to so much of it that I love to talk about everything people are walking up to the counter with. And like, you know, I have so many great conversations with people because of a disc. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's pretty beautiful, honestly. Like, you know, and music in general, if someone comes in and buys a cassette, I'm saying the same thing. I'm having the same combo, but you know, just to see kids being so excited about it. And it's kind of one of the greatest like comebacks of all time. Like, if you really think about it, it's like so insane that, you know, like for a while, no one gave a shit about it. And people were probably urged by labels not to do it, you know, and now it's like, everyone's got like 10 different variants, and, you know, it's really cool that people are just having fun with it, you know. And of course, it's a money maker in a business standpoint. It's expensive, but it's a great business, you know. Like you're being a part of something that's like really fully back and continues to kind of grow differently every day. I think there's going to be no bubble this time. You know, there was a bubble that burst. I don't think it's that way anymore. I think it's like literally just back into a normal medium of like listening to music. So
it's going to force people to get back into listening to an entire record that somebody,
which is so sick. I mean, I heard some people at the shop,
skip, you know,
right. I heard some people at the shop the other day. They were kind of having a discussion that, you know, I don't know if it was like a couple or a brother and a sister, just by the way they were like conversing, very comfortable. But the dude was like, he's like, yeah, he's like, you know, you can buy that record, but you only like one song from it. So I'm just, you know, and the other person's like, yeah, but like, what if I want the record? It's like, well, I don't know, just be practical, you know, like you don't want to like impulse buy a record. And in my head, I'm like, dude, music is an impulse. You know what I mean? Like it should make you feel fucking crazy. Like what? Don't mathematically, you know, money, I get it, right? But at the same time, it's like you're at a record store, you know, you want to buy something. You know, don't let that stop you. One song, like sit down and listen to all the songs. Like, you know, if it's a means of, you know, if it's in regard to like saving and whatever, totally understand. And we're not at our shop, we don't pitch shit. We don't care. We just want people to come in and, you know, we sell records at insanely low prices, like, because we just want people to have the records in their hand. Mm-hmm. Like if you met Dave, the owner, you would be like, wow, there's still like humanity left in the world for musicians. Cause I mean, the dude is, I mean, for lovers of music, the dude is just on another level of like, you know, it's cool, man. Like we get records from a collection. Most people will look on Discogs for like their worth. If someone comes with like a bunch of classic rock records, we like price them at $3 to $5, put them in the $3 to $5 bin. Like you can find $100 record in our bin, but we don't nickel and dime off Discogs. If we know something's worth something, then okay, we like figure it out. But like we just want people to get the music, and you know, seeing it every day and seeing people like so excited about what they're buying, and you know, it's really cool. It's really sick to see, and that's why we do it, and that's why, you know, it's so important to us. I don't know how we got off topic onto that topic, but yeah, like
that's the show.
You know, that's what makes me love. That's why I'll never be sick of music, even as a fan, because it's, you know, I think music as a business is hard sometimes because, you know, for us, like, you know, we were on Victory Records. It was like a fucking shit show. And it's like, you know, props to Victory as a unit for believing in us. I'm never going to take that away. But, you know, it tarnishes your love of music for a long time as a business, right? Like,
Sometimes,
this is something.
The music business can feel like it takes more than it gives.
The business of the music business is shitty.
It'll always be, and it's been like that for years. But
the business of a lot of businesses is tough.
Right.
Yeah, totally. Well, that's the thing, right? You gotta play by your rules. But the thing is, I think what really helps at the end of the day is if you have a business sense, but you also really respect the fact that this is fucking art you're pushing. Mm-hmm. So it's like there should be a way with like integrity, and that's why, you know, that's why I still love music so much, because I tend to meet people in my life who that's how they see it. You know, like Dave, you know, is like an insane reflection of that. And you know, being in my other band that I was in for a while, Night Versus, you know, I love those dudes so much, and they're the same exact way. Those dudes give a fuck about one thing, and that's just shredding music, you know. And I love those dudes for like how much they give a shit. And I think that's why I'm still a believer in music, because I'm just surrounded by great people who still see it as, yeah, we can make it a business, but like this is art. You know, recording with Ross Robinson, and you know, recording with Mike Birnbaum and Chris Bittner, who do the Sleeping records. Ross Robinson being the producer who did the Night Versus record, the last one that I was on. You know, those people give so much of a shit about music that it's like, I just feel like, okay, there's still hope to like make something beautiful and let it be heard by everyone without feeling like it's got to like be successful monetarily or whatever, you know, because I want to make a living, but I would much rather make a history for myself.
Well, they
You
can
know what I
always,
mean?
Yeah.
they're always gonna, you know, the infamous they're always gonna try and commodify art that people
Yeah.
respond to. But music is the one thing that there's always that chance, and there's always that option where there's going to be somebody that writes something that changes the world for people, and that's just going to happen, and that's gonna happen a year from now, that's going to happen tomorrow, that's going to happen 10 years from now. No matter what they do, no matter what the business is of it, you are always going to have those artists that come out, and those writers that come out, and those bands that come out, that are going to write something that is just undeniable. And maybe it won't be heard by everybody that it would have been heard by in the 90s, or, you know, whatever era we want to lionize. But they're gonna change the world for whoever hears it. You know?
Yeah.
And that's what you know, keeps it being the fucking coolest thing that there is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's,
Totally. 100%.
you know.
It's a beautiful thing, man. Like, you know, the sleeping, we've done our thing, you know, we're still doing our thing. And, you know, even on a smaller scale, people with our lyrics tattooed, people who like,
Yep.
you know, tell us these like great stories of how they heard us, and like, you know, that shit is so dope. You know what I mean? It means so much to me, and I fucking hate saying how much it means to me, because I hate how, I don't ever want it to sound so like cheesy, but like it seriously is so crazy. I mean, like, it means so much that like people cared enough about what we did / do, whatever. Like, you know, I wrote those lyrics as a kid. You know, I was fucking 18 when I joined the band. And yeah, okay, fine, you're like, you know, you're by number an adult, but like, you know, I didn't grow up the way some other people grow up. Like, I was learning everything on my own. You know, my mom moving away right out of high school, not having a dad. Like, you know, those lyrics came from my, you know, my environment and what I went through. And, you know, I was like in love with everyone I ever met every day. Every time I would meet someone new, I was just so in love. And like, you know, it's crazy because, you know, those things were just how I felt. And like, people resonate with that in a way that I would never, you know, have thought. You know, I wanted to make an impact musically. That's why people are in bands. Like, you know, like, it's art, and it's, you still want it to be heard by people. But, you know, the fact that people heard it the way they did when like I was just trying to write to figure out my life, you know, it's really cool. It's like fucking so dope. You know, it's,
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. And I get pretty emotional about it because I still want to keep doing it. And like, you know, I'm 40 years old. I gotta take care of what's important and what's valuable. And part of that is myself. And, you know, I just need to keep creating forever, because if one person hears it and is just hyped on it, as hyped as I am, or if it takes on as much meaning as something does for me, like, it's fucking so sick.
Absolutely.
I love that, man.
100%. Like, yeah, like, you know, we've said before, like, we write music to, or I've said before, I won't put words in anybody else's mouth, but like, I've said before, like, yeah, writing music, kept me from driving off bridges, kept me from so many bad decisions in my life, and that's all it ever needed to do. And the fact that any one person, no matter who it is, if it's you know, a friend of yours that hears you rehearsing one night, and a lyric means something to them or changes something for them, or if it's someone at a show, or if it's someone that hears a record, or if it's somebody that when you're on tour, they check you out and they hear something, or whatever it is. The fact that it matters to anybody else is just such an important reinforcement to me as a writer, that I'm not alone in this world.
Yeah.
But then also the feeling that I somehow lucked into being able to let somebody else know that they're not alone in this world.
Totally.
You know, and it's such a cool, like,
Yeah.
There's nothing. There's no amount of anything that can trump that.
You know what else is cool too, though? Like all that stuff is so beautiful, right? Like what we're talking about, it's awesome. But you know what else is so rad about art? Like it's also rad when people fucking hate something too,
Yeah.
like musically. Like I think that deserves some like light too, because I remember working at a skate shop in the city in New York City. For like 5 years, right? Such an awesome shop right in the heart of the city. Fucking so dope, right? Like just surrounded by friends, just all working and like hanging out, being idiots, it was so fun. And I remember this one time, Nine Inch Nails just released the Add Violence EP.
Okay.
And I was like, I remember getting it and I was like, listen, I think I was listening to it digital. I remember it releasing and I was like, oh fuck, I'm like stoked to hear this. So I remember being like really excited to play it. And at the end, there's like a loop that goes on for like 15 minutes and it's just like a sound and it's like obnoxious. It's Trent Reznor. He is like a definition of like, an artist,
a sonic artist.
Yeah, totally. And there's just this like loop going and going. And I remember I'm like, I'm like cleaning out a shelf or something. And this dude comes up to me and he's like, hey man, who is this? And he like says it so nice. So I'm already like so excited that someone's like, oh, this is sick, So I'm like, oh, it's the new Nine Inch Nails EP. I'm like, do you like it? And he's like, no, this is the worst thing I've ever heard. And he like left the store. But right before he left, he just like stared at me. And I was just like, well, I'm like, that's kind of dope because he doesn't make music for someone like you. And like, that was like my only response in that moment. Perfect it was just like, this guy looks like he was like from like, financial district, but who cares? There's anyone can like Nine Inch Nails, but I was like, oh, well, I guess he just doesn't make music for you, and I just remember in that moment being like, it's kind of dope that I just really liked something that somebody was like repulsed by. I don't know. There was just something really cool about that. And I think it made me even appreciate that part more because every time I listen to that record now and that part loops, I like sit there and listen to it the whole time because I'm just like so hyped on it. Like he fucking made this knowing probably someone would get sick of it, and I wouldn't doubt that. Awesome. And it's so sick, right?
Which is so Trent also.
Well,
exactly.
It's like what he does.
Yeah.
But, I think those moments deserve really, I think they deserve like applause too sometimes because, you're not going to like everything you listen to. I for sure respect almost everything I listen to. I have a respect whether I'm a fan of it or not. I'm a fan of anyone who makes music because I just think it's a great thing. But, of course, there's a ton of stuff I don't like, just for my own reasons, whatever. But the fact that someone else does is why music and art is so great, because at the end of the day, that's like what it's all about, like talking about why you like or don't like something. I mean, we just had a discussion yesterday that I'm not even going to bring up because it'll go down a rabbit hole, but we had a music discussion yesterday at the shop where it's like, there's a certain band considered classic rock. And it was like such a fun conversation because everybody's points were valid and everyone had different views. But that's what's like so rad about music. It's like, yeah, it saves people, but some of it also makes people fucking pissed or angry. And sometimes those emotions are needed too. You know what I mean? Like, I think, or sad or whatever, I think that's like a really cool thing because,
I think it's a good take to be able to be like, yo, it's cool that people don't like things. Cause sometimes like if you say you don't like something, it turns into this like, like,
this is why you should.
You're not allowed to say that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Well,
I mean, we live in a world of that, where and
it's true.
And I'm so envious of you to not have Twitter because Twitter is literally just that is literally like,
oh yeah, I don't do that either.
Well, no, this sucks. It's like, no, it doesn't suck. This is great. Right. And that's all Twitter is.
Yeah.
Legit.
Well, I think, the internet's given everyone an opinion and a voice, and hey, everyone deserves to have their own opinion as long as, obviously there's really fucking shitty people in the world, but, I think that's why I also really relate, rally behind just music in general is because you can still have opinions with music when you're like in that moment, and like it's fun to talk about it, where everything else feels like there's so much like, finality on every conversation
Right.
of opinion, but music, it's always just like, it's cool. It's like you're still able to really, go in regard to music and have really great answers from people. And, I think it's still taken in a way where everyone's just like, yeah, that's, it makes so much sense, or no, you're wrong. Fuck you. But it's like,
I've had people change my mind.
It's not about,
I've had conversations with people
totally,
where I've been one. I work at a music school, teaching, like I teach music. I work at a school of rock. So a lot of times we'll be doing a show on certain classic rock bands. And there are certain classic rock bands that in my perception, I'm like, overrated. And they're not usually the ones that people like to hear. Are thought of that way.
I could think of a few of those already.
I'm sure you're thinking of the
probably agreeing
that I'm saying.
But respect, dude. Respect for the revolution.
Right, what they've done.
Absolutely. 1,000%. 1,000%. And like learning and teaching the parts and talking and seeing a kid come in. I would never, I would never try and talk a kid out of liking them. These are talks between the teachers.
Right.
I never have a kid come in and go like, I want to learn this song from this band, and I'm like, they're overrated. That's not. That's not my move. That's not my move.
Well, also, you would be doing a disservice to someone who is discovering that anyway.
Exactly.
Right.
Never do that.
Maybe they're like, this is the greatest band ever. You're like, oh, but
But I have been like, cool. What do you like about it? And I've gotten answers that have been like, maybe I should give that another listen.
Look from a different lens. Yeah.
Yeah, because.
But also, or don't, and say, fuck it, I still don't like it. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
It's music, dude. That's the best part.
And we can do
that. Oh, yeah, dude.
We can do that.
Yeah.
So all right. So I think that's a good place for us to let you go, because we've taken up a lot of your time tonight. Thank you so much for hanging out and chatting with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for letting me do this on a Sunday night too.
Yeah.
No, dude, we didn't get into like I had to throw away my my sleeping shirt. Like it was gross. It was fucking gross.
What, just like dirty or what?
Yeah. It was just
worn to hell.
One of those old, like, it was like the baseball sleeve jersey, shirts and stuff, and it was nasty.
Funny enough, he's about to let us know where we can get new sleeping shirts if you want a new one. So let us know where everything is.
We got a merch store somewhere. I think if you just go on our Instagram, not at all. If you go on Instagram, you can like go to the link tree or whatever, and I think we have merch in there. So.
Let everybody know still where's the best place to follow you and find everything that you're doing.
Yeah, the Sleeping Official on Instagram, Douglas Robinson _ on Instagram, Unity Jiu-Jitsu Jersey City on Instagram if you want to train some jiu-jitsu, and Vinyl Addiction Records in North Arlington, New Jersey. You can just follow that at Vinyl Addiction Records, and that's definitely something you should follow because the records are fucking awesome. Dave posts like every day, so come say what's up.
Tell him you heard him on Bacon Is My Podcast.
Yeah, I also wanted to talk the pierogi lady at Warsaw, because I know you guys played Warsaw.
Yeah,
and that venue's beautiful. First off, but second off, there's a pierogi lady there, and and in between bands, you like. You can't be online for her because that's where the gear comes out.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
That's probably my favorite venue in a very long time. Too. Such a great staff too. It's just such a great place. I love going there. I saw one of my favorite shows in a very long time there. I saw These Arms Are Snakes, their like last Brooklyn show, and that was like a few months ago. And that was so fucking sick. I love that place. And that I remember watching that going, man, I really want to play here. And then we got the offer to play there. So it was really cool that happened because I love that spot for sure.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah. So, guys, go check out everything that Douglas is doing, and always remember to ask yourself one super important question.
Yeah, we talked about the question earlier. What is that thing for you? What is that thing that makes your life a little bit better? What's your vinyl? What's your music? What's your headphones? What is it that makes your day a little bit better? All listeners, every time you wake up, it's just going to make your day better in general. Just think about that thing first. What is it? What's the question?
Oh, Douglas, you remember what that question was? It's been a while.
That's
I don't remember.
It's the name of the first show. Here's where you say, "What's your bacon?"
What's your bacon?
That's where it is. Thanks, dude. We appreciate you, man.
Yeah, man.
Thank you so much for taking the time and hanging out.
Douglas was a lot of fun. Was he not?
That was awesome. We know this was a long show, so we're going to zoom through this outro. We just want to thank everybody for listening. Thank you for hanging out. We appreciate you. He was awesome. Definitely check out The Sleeping, but check out everything that he's doing. Anything new, watch here. We're going to definitely announce.
Yeah, we're gonna talk. Yeah, he's got that new band coming up, and
we heard about it.
We'll tell you. Yeah. We'll tell you when it happens.
Right.
We'll be sharing it on the social medias and all that stuff.
For
you
sure.
know that.
But for now, where are you?
I am at me my own self, Mike. Me personally, on my band. My band. We're doing stuff. Things and stuff and things. We will be coming out with stuff. I'm gonna say spring, summer. Nice. At Something Heavy Music or Something Heavy on all socials. Of course, between Jimmy and I, the portal to all things Bacon Is My Podcast, including my music, his music, and our joint music, is at baconismypodcast.com.
Indeed.
Please go there, grab some merch.
More bacon.
And, of course, as always, it costs you nothing to do a like, do a subscribe, do a 5-star review, do whatever it is that you want to do.
If
Go
you
ahead,
hate the show,
please
share us with somebody that also will hate it and be like, "Yo, you're gonna hate this show."
But also tell us why.
Yeah.
Please tell us why.
If you
tell
love
us
the
why you
show,
don't like it.
Share us with somebody that you think will love it, or if you think we're okay, let us know why we're okay and what we can do better. Share us with somebody who you think will like the show.
Big shout out to our sponsors: GrillYourAssOff.com, Manscaped.com, DrinkWildBills.com. All of them at BaconIsMyPodcast.com. But Jimmy, where can they find you and your things?
You can find me and my things at Jimmy G Shoes on all the socials. That's where I personally am. I don't post a lot, but when I do post, I try and make it somewhat entertaining or funny. If it's not, just kind of letting you know what's happening with either Bacon Is My Podcast or something to do with my band, Craving Strange, which you can find at cravingstrange.net or just at Craving Strange on all the socials. You can find us. We're going to be putting music out. You heard, if you're here, then you've listened to this episode and you heard that we are putting out a vinyl. Working on that. Working on new music. I have some stuff for you to hear in a little bit too. So
I'm excited. I'm excited.
Some stuff and things, and maybe we're stuffing some things. So definitely check that out. I'd appreciate it. I appreciate you listening to this and being here for this. If you want to help us out a little bit more, jump over to Patreon. Join our patrons over there. We got the BIMP Squad. If you're a member of the BIMP Squad, not only do you get extra episodes, different episodes where we're cooking things,
ad-free
eating
episodes,
things, ad-free things. You can also join us live every single week, almost every week. Join us live for our Discussions and Drinks show, which airs every Wednesday on StrangerhoodTV.com. You can be a part of the show. We interact with you during the show. You're there live. You get to hang out and be a part of the BIMP Squad. It's just a little extra thing for you, and it's a little something extra that you can do to really help us. And that's good for any tier, and your first week's free. So check it out at patreon.com/baconismypodcast.
Yes.
And remember to ask yourselves every single day, what is it that makes your life better? What is it that makes your life more interesting? What is it that makes you a little bit of a happier person and better to deal with every day?
Yeah. What's your bacon?
Goddamn right.
World peace.